Give me 1 sec. All right, there we go. Good evening. I would like to call to order the May 20th, 2025 Little Rock City Board of Directors meeting. We would like to welcome those that are in attendance and as well as watching at home or online. Madam Clerk, if you would, please call the roll.
Director Miller, Director Richardson, Director Webb, Director Peck, Director Hines, Director Lewis, Director Campiris, Director Adcock, Vice Mayor Wyrick, Mayor Scott,
Present.
Director Phillips. Sorry.
Let me now recognize the city attorney.
Please join me. So many people from so many backgrounds, all trying to do their best. So many ideas and so many concepts of what should be done. Join us together in any issue that we face tonight, even when there is not agreement on those issues among us. It is imperative that we listen. It is imperative that we speak. It is crucial that we reason and find an outcome that is the best for the city in the view of the elected officials. They are elected to do their best, to listen to others, and to decide upon a course. If that course is not pleasant, then discussions are totally proper, but not tonight. Directors welcome hearing good ideas from anyone. Let us be a source of inspiration for them as they are a source of renewal for our city. Amen.
Amen. Please stand for Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, members of the board, before we go into tonight's presentation, we got a few different things that we will set in order. We have 4 modifications for today's agenda. We will do one withdrawal, which is on item number 6, 2 deferrals, which will be for items 28 and 29, and then 1 addition, which is M1 resolution.
Mayor, I move that we withdraw resolution 6, defer at the applicant's request 28 and 29, and add M1 to our consent agenda.
There a motion, there's a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Members of the board also believe Director Phillips has a motion.
Yes, Mayor, I understand that there's going to be a discussion tonight about MHA, and I know we have citizens communication. I think there's a number of people that signed up, so I think it makes sense to move citizen communication up to make sure that we hear from those folks before we go into our discussion about MHA.
That's the motion. Is there a second? There's a second from Director Adcock. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Also, I want to share on the MHA, we will not take up the voting action today. We will discuss it and go through that process. Members of the board do now have an updated resolution and ordinance for your review tonight in discussion and throughout this week. And then also there'll be other aspects of this, and so we want to defer it at the request of some board members to take time to digest this, and so we will do that. Everyone okay with that? All right. All right, now we'll go right into Jade. And for that being said, so if you're on items 27, I believe, or 28 or 29, we won't be taking that up for action today at all. At the earliest that is being deferred, do we have an exact date on that deferral? No. However, the earliest that it could be taken back up would be on June the 3rd, where we have another regularly scheduled meeting. That's at the earliest. I will say, just so if there's any confusion, we will have a special call meeting on next Tuesday on May the 27th, and that will be to take up the MHA that we're talking about today. But again, items 28 and 29 will not be taken up next Tuesday. At the earliest, it will be taken up. It will be June 3rd. We do not have that determined today because it's being deferred and we don't have an exact date on when it'll come back, but at its earliest will be June 3rd. So if you're here for items 28 and 29, we would love for you to stay here and listen to all this great city business. But if you have anything else to do this evening, you definitely do not have to stay from that standpoint. But we definitely want you to stay here. But if you feel the need to leave because your item's not being taken up, please feel free.
Mayor, for those who haven't really paid attention to the numbers, the two items, 28 and 29, are the group homes.
Yes, sir. Director Webb.
Thank you, Mayor Scott. Can you tell me why 6 was withdrawn?
Chief Hubbard.
Yes. Director Webb, the bidder who was selected was not able to secure bonding for the project.
Do we know how long that will delay the project?
It shouldn't delay it long. They were able to do some talking with that particular bidder who was successful, and he was working on that, securing the bonding for that project.
Thank you.
I'll follow with you on some more specific times.
All right. We'll now transition to our presentation by JTS.
Good evening, Mayor, board members. It's my privilege to be here to present and represent JTS on your employee benefits. As you may know, JTS was contracted with the city in 2021-22. We are fully insured. At the time, we were fully insured with United Healthcare. In 2023, we moved fully insured to Cigna, and then we have stayed with Cigna since that point in time. Cigna has been a good partner to the city and to JTS and the employees, and as a result, we have saved the city over $2 million in health insurance premiums. All of that being said, with the environment that we live in now, with the cost of pharmacy increasing, medical expenses increasing, we felt after consideration and discussion with the HR department, with Dr. Compuris, that this may be the appropriate time for us to consider looking at partially self-funded, but also considering staying fully insured. So our job when we were first brought on was to communicate with the board in advance. Let the board know what we foresee coming down the pike, what we see from a claims, from a premium standpoint, what the feedback we receive from your employees. And at this point, after all that discussion, we think it would be in the best interest of the city for us to evaluate self-funded in addition to fully insured. I was going to go into a presentation to go into detail on partially self-funded as it relates to fully insured, but in the best interest of time for the board, we think that that discussion would be better served, and we received that feedback from HR that we would like to do a deep dive into the claims, what's driving our cost, what's driving our employees and our premiums up, in a discussion with the board so that we can identify ways that we can try to contain those costs moving forward. This is a proactive approach on our part. The reason that we're up here is we want to let y'all know that we are going to look at opportunities as it relates to partially self-funded versus fully insured. We want to educate y'all on what the differences, pros, cons are between fully insured and self-funded so that y'all can make an informed decision when it comes times and we have those final rates. Currently, the city, we're running it right at about 100%. So I will tell you that's a little bit high, but that's about where we've been.
So at this point, we're not seeing any trends that are really driving our rates up, other than the basic medical trends that you see out there as far as cost increases go. But by moving partially self-funded, or at least considering this, it gives us the opportunity to really dig in on what is driving our cost. And right now, with the pharmaceutical industry, or the rates on pharmacy driving most of the medical spend on more of our groups, we have to really look at what can we do to contain those costs. There's also cost containment strategies by putting in a local clinic. These are things that we consult on. We broker them without compensation, so that the city can make the best decision if the clinic strategy is a way that you want to go. We have data analytics that we can actually use data. We get more specific and more direct data on self-funded than we do fully insured, to where we have data analytics to predict claims in the future. So we also have strategies as it relates to the pharmacy. How do we drive down pharmaceutical cost? We have the ability to do that on self-funded, whereas on the fully insured, we don't have as much leeway to be able to manage those. Cigna has done a great job. Cigna's done a great job at managing our pharmacy spend. But all that being said, we would be remiss if we didn't explore every opportunity for the city. So that being said, our job today was simply to inform you that's what, with HR's thoughts, Dr. Compuris, everybody on my team, we think it's worthwhile for us to look into it and see what the costs are. There's not going to be any additional work on any employees of the city. It is something that we will take on fully with our responsibility, but we feel like we need to get moving on this now if this is a strategy that we truly want to deploy in 2026. So at that point, we've given a presentation. We actually have printed off presentations for you so that you can take it home. It's just really an explanation of what self-funded is versus fully insured, and what the opportunities for savings are when we do that. So I will say one thing, and I would be completely remiss if I didn't say that. Our partnership with the city and with the HR department is fabulous. The work that we are doing together is paying off, and I can't compliment your team enough on that. So with that being said, I'm not going to take up any more of your time, but I am open to any questions, concerns, thoughts that you may have.
We definitely appreciate the brevity and the presentation we all can take home and digest as we continue to do the deep dive. Thank you and JTS for all the work that you've done. You all have been a great partner as well, as we work to creatively provide the best opportunities and benefits to our city team members. And so I just want to shout out Sheridan Richards and Jenny Bradford. We know you and the entire HR team for all their hard work. So thank you. Director Phillips.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate the presentation. If we are to make a change, when does that change need to happen? Like what timeline are we working with?
So we have been fortunate in that we have implored and received early quotes on the fully insured basis from Cigna and all the other carriers in the past, where we actually received their quotes sometime in August. On a self-funded basis, we'll have basic quotes. What we won't have at that point is a full and final on the stop loss, the reinsurance part of it. But we'll have a really good grasp on what that's looking like, to where our intent is to be able to present this in late August, early September, so that we can make a decision. Okay. As soon as we get information, we are going to give it to you all.
Okay.
We will not hold any information back, because the more time that you all get a chance to not only look at the information, but let us consult on what this means, pros and cons, the better off we're going to be.
Understood. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, if you would, please read the consent agenda.
A resolution authorizes the city manager to enter into a contract with Redstone Construction Group Incorporated in amount not to exceed $176,638.80 for the Lane widening project and for other purposes, funding from the limited tax general obligation capital improvement bonds. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with H.W. Tucker Company Incorporated in amount not to exceed $1,261,283.40 for the Vimy Ridge Road widening project and for other purposes, funding from the limited tax general obligation capital improvement bonds. A resolution to authorize the city manager to award a contract with Hope Lawn Care in an amount not to exceed $118,947.60 for the right-of-way mowing and trimming within the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes. A resolution to authorize the city manager to award a contract to the Griffin Group LLC in an amount not to exceed $80,268.48 for the right-of-way mowing and trimming within the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes. A resolution to authorize the city manager to award a contract to the Griffin Group LLC in an amount not to exceed $77,866.35 for the right-of-way mowing and trimming Phase 3 for Wards 2 and 7 within the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Positive Results Lawn Service Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $112,878 for the Montrose Drive Drainage Improvement Project and for other purposes, funding from the limited tax general obligation capital improvement bonds. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Curtis Construction Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $183,260.40 for the Buttermilk Road Drainage Improvement Project and for other purposes, funding from the limited tax general obligation capital improvement bonds. A resolution to authorize the city manager to amend the contract with Garnett Engineering LLC in an amount not to exceed $20,000 for additional engineering and design for the North Van Buren, Hawthorne, and Country Club Drainage Improvement Project and for other purposes, funding from the 3/8 cent capital improvement sales tax and the limited tax general obligation capital improvement bonds. A resolution to authorize the city manager to amend the contract with Burkhalter Technologies Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $50,000 for additional sidewalk and access ramp replacement for R Street and Fillmore Street Drainage Improvement Project and for other purposes, funding from the limited tax general obligation capital improvement bonds. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Curtis Construction Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $97,290 for the Morrison Court Drainage Improvement Project and for other purposes, funding from the limited tax general obligation capital improvement bonds. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with All Service Electric Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $235,821 for the Shackelford Road at Colonel Glenn Road intersection improvements and for other purposes, funding from the limited tax general obligation capital improvement bonds. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Olson Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $104,800 to provide engineering services and for other purposes. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Raftalis Financial Consultants Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $250,000 for the Public Works Department Solid Waste Service Division's Cost of Services Rate Study and Operational Scan and for other purposes. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a subaward agreement with the University of Arkansas at Little Rock Euler School of Physical Sciences Geology Program in an amount not to exceed $38,984 to administer Environmental Protection Agency Wetland Development Program grant funds for Forest Creek water soil sampling research assistance and for other purposes. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Turf and Soil Management Contract Services LLC in an amount not to exceed $352,240.43 plus applicable taxes and fees for the purchase of 5 Baroness diesel mowers and attachments for the Rebsamen Golf Course and First Tee and for other purposes. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Landscape Structures Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $110,000 for playground equipment replacement to the playground at Riverfront Park and for other purposes. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Flinco Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $4,149,071.85 plus applicable taxes and fees for the renovation of the Center at University facility to remodel and add to the existing structure to create a senior recreation facility and for other purposes. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Commerce Bank for virtual credit card services and for other purposes. A resolution to accept title to property donated to the city of Little Rock by warranty deed to be used for neighborhood revitalization programs and for other purposes. A resolution to authorize the city manager and mayor to enter into a contract and execute the necessary documents with Arkansas Teacher Retirement System in an amount not to exceed $700,000 plus applicable taxes and fees for the purchase of the building and property located at 1200 West 3rd Street, Little Rock, Arkansas, 72201, to house the Little Rock Police Department Evidence and Property Division and for other purposes. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a public agency service agreement to provide fleet maintenance, repair, and fueling services for the Little Rock Convention and Visitor Bureau vehicles and equipment and for other purposes. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with HD Roofing and Construction in an amount not to exceed $82,000 for the purposes of the Cafe Africa Roof Replacement Project and for other purposes. A resolution to authorize the mayor and city manager to accept funds from the Arkansas Historic Preservation Program in an amount not to exceed $78,800 to conduct Phase 5 of the Hillcrest National Register Historic District Resurvey for training for historic district commissioners and staff, and to fund continuing membership dues, to authorize the mayor and city manager to execute any and all necessary applications, agreements, and contracts for its administration and for other purposes. A resolution to set June 3rd, 2025 as the date of hearing on the appeal of the Planning Commission's recommendation of denial for a rezoning from R2 to R4 for 45 lots located along Mountain Vista Drive and Summit View Drive in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes. A resolution to set June 3rd, 2025 as the date of hearing on the appeal of the Planning Commission's recommendation of denial for a planned zoning development titled Orndorff No. 2 PDR located at 1522 Hanger Street in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes. A resolution to ratify payments to SHI International Corporation and to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with SHI International Corporation to use PIT funds in the amount not to exceed $225,121.34 for the Bonterra Apricot Data Management System and for other purposes. That concludes the consent agenda.
There's a motion and second. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it. We'll going into open a public hearing from item number 27, Mr. Kevin Howard. Is there anything you would like to say during this briefly or not?
Mayor, I don't have anything to say. I wanted to go through a short presentation just after the hearing has been open and closed. We would need to request a vote for the 2025 sources and uses of funds for our CDBG home and Hopwood funds for this year. So just wanted to just go through a brief presentation real fast. Go to the next slide. So this is our fact sheet for CDBG, the funding that we received over the past 5 years. The activities that we've funded over the past 5 years has been homeowner occupied rehabilitation, economic development, public services. Those public services include senior activities, homeless services, youth and family services, health clinics, Meals on Wheels, and rental assistance. When you see homeless services, that was prior to you all funding the homeless service division. And so we did those activities under CDBG at that time. Also, we received, during the time period during COVID, we received CDBG CARES Act funding, and we were awarded a little over almost $2 million with those activities that we did with economic development and some public services that we did under that. The outcomes you'll see over the past 5 years, we've assisted over at least 50,000 individuals through low to moderate income purposes through either the activities that you see before you, either homeowner occupied rehab, economic development, public services. Go to the next slide. Also, we're asking to fund sources and uses for home funds that we receive. Those home funds, we do homeowner occupied rehabilitation, home buyer assistance, down payment assistance. Also, we do new construction with those funds, acquisition, rehab of properties. We used to have a program called Save a Home program where we would go in neighborhoods and redevelop properties that were foreclosed on to bring those properties up to development purposes so we can sell to low to moderate income persons and families. And then we'd also do tenant-based rental assistance too with those funds. Population served last 5 years, seniors, disabled persons, low to moderate income persons and families. And as you can see the outcomes over the past 5 years. Next slide. Last one is our HOPWA allocations, housing opportunity persons with AIDS. We receive several funding over the past 5 years. It's an increase over the years. As you can see, the last 2 years, we received over $1 million each year. And so some of the activities we funded over the past 5 years, administration, permanent housing placement, short-term rental, mortgage utility assistance, which we call STRUMU, and then tenant-based rental assistance as well. And the population served over the last 5 years is people with AIDS that's affected with HIV, and then low-income individuals and families that are part of that. And so over the past 5 years, we assisted 665 persons. You can go to the next slide. This gives you an opportunity to see the sources and uses of funds that we've allocated for 2025. The CDBG allocation that the federal government, coming from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, would be over a little over $1.5 million that we receive. And those uses on occupied rehabilitation, World Changers, CareLink Meals on Wheels program, funding CHI St. Vincent Clinic, and then of course we have administration. And we have, just to give you all an example, we have public meetings that we hold each and every year. We have at least 4. The federal government only requires us to have 2 public meetings, but we go to each one of the community centers around, as well as Willie Henry. We have a kickoff meeting, so we actually have 5. And so we provide this information out to the general public in each of the wards that we have heavy services in. And so we get feedback from the residents in these areas, and these are the things that they requested on occupied rehabilitation, World Changers, CareLink, and CHI St. Vincent East Clinic. Go to the next slide. For home funds, which we call Home Investment Partnership Program funds, we projected allocation from HUD to be a little over $700,000. We had some program income from the sale of homes that we created and developed over the past year. And so we were able to bring in program income a little less than $500,000. Then we had some reallocated funding from previous years to give us a total a little over $1.4 million. And then those uses, as I stated before, home buyer assistance from program income. We do down payment assistance with those funds. And each and every year we run out with those funds because it's a program that's in demand. And then we have new construction of single family units around the city that we do. And then we fund our CHODOs, which are community housing development organizations such as BCD, University District Development Corporation, around the city to help them provide affordable housing to residents of the city of Little Rock. And then, of course, administration, we have to fund that so we can make sure we have staff in place to run these programs. Next slide. So HOPWA funds that we have, we anticipating receiving a little over $1 million. We do housing assistance and related supportive services. That includes our STRUMU tenant-based rental assistance, and then we have grantee administration. It's not that much. It's 3%, and so we have a hard time, but we make a way to have staff in place to administer this program. We really need more as far as the grantee administration, but that's what HUD allows us to have in place. And so that total is a little over $1.5 million. And so coming to you today to ask you to support the programs that we have before you. Also looking forward, in 2026, we're not for sure if we're going to get funded. So these programs may be cut out completely based on the information we receive from the federal government. So we're looking to find other ways that we can receive funds to assist these programs and assist the residents of the city of Little Rock. Thank you.
Director Adcock, then Director Miller.
No, I'm sorry, it was.
Director Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm certainly supportive of the use of these funds. What I want you to share is for the residents who want to get on the list for World Changers and want to get on the list for rehab of their homes. You get a lot of phone calls from elderly and folks that want to get on the list. Tell people how they get on the list and share with us a little bit about how long that list is.
So to get on the list for owner-occupied rehab assistance or world changers, wheelchair ramps, you can always call the City of Little Rock Department of Housing and Neighborhood Programs, 501-371-6825. Also, you can go onto our website. We have a homeowner questionnaire form that asks you questions. When you fill out that information, it goes directly to that person that's handling that, which is our housing specialist, and they will actually put you on the actual waiting list. They'll make calls on you. The rehab list as far as world changes is quick. We do have some people that are on the wait list, but typically we get those people done during that same year. The owner-occupied rehab list, where we have emergency assistance, limited home repair assistance, those different activities. We do have a short list. It's less than 100 on the waiting list. We usually move through that list pretty fast, but we do run out of money each and every year. But we assist usually between 65 and 75 people per year. Also, we leverage those funds with SNAP funds that we receive from the Federal Home Loan Bank of Dallas, as well as working through our member banks, two here in Little Rock, Arvis Bank and First Security, to assist residents too as well. That gives us a little bit more leverage in assisting these residents with roof repairs, water line replacements, sewer line replacements, and electrical issues that we have around the city. Most of them emergency assistance, we usually get on those pretty fast. Most of them are roofs in need, especially in wards 1 and 2, because those where our older housing stock is located. So our job is to assist those residents as quick as possible.
Okay. Can you share with the residents what type of work World Changers does?
Yes, World Changers focus on the exterior painting of structures, and those structures are, we repair wood, we replace decks, wheelchair ramps, any rotting wood around the structures, and we paint those exterior part of those structures. And usually that's done within a 4-day period. We have a partnership with World Changers and local churches, faith-based organizations around the city of Little Rock. And we go out, we have about 200 individual kids that come in and work as far as the labor portion, and the city of Little Rock provides the actual materials to assist those residents in getting their houses painted. We've been doing this over 18 years with the city, and the partnership that we have with World Changers has been great with Lifeline Baptist Church.
Okay. And can you share again with the residents, when's the best time to try to get on the list?
You can get on anytime if you got a computer or
Saying
phone.
right now?
Anytime.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Mayor.
Yes. Thank you so much. We'll now close are there any questions for anyone for or against? Any questions for or against? We'll now close the hearing. And so is there a motion to accept this? There's a motion. Is there a second? All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it.
Mayor, the resolution will be prepared.
Right. I'm just
on June 3rd.
Just getting it on the record. All right. Before we go to items 31, we'll go to the citizens communication. Barbara Jones. Ms. Barbara Jones.
3 minutes.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Barbara Anthony Jones. I have stayed in Madison Heights over 20 years.
And Ms. Jones, if you'll bring the mic just down a little bit. Yes, ma'am.
Better? My rent was based on my income. Staying there, it was just placed up $223 more than what it had been under new management. I had it investigated. It went down 100. Did not get a refund of the $100 for that whole year. They won't do as they should, because every 6 to 8 months we get new management. Everything is based on that. No refunds. We're paying water bill. When I was there first, for at least 10 years, we weren't paying water bill. Now we're paying water bill. 1 bedroom, $45, whether you use a drop of water or not. $55 if you're in a 2-bedroom. 3 bedrooms, $65. What can we do? Who can we go to talk to people? They don't have management. We can't go have meetings anymore. We just sit there. do as we're told. We realize people have to do what they're being told or paid to do because that's life. But our life is to be done correctly, and we're not being done that way. We want to stay in that place because we're near a hospital, we're near a church, we're near bus stops, and we can get around. The place was built by St. Louis, but now the state owns it, and we're not being treated as it should be when it is owned by the state or whoever owns it, because go to a management, ask different things. We don't have your funds. We don't have this. We don't have that. But you do have that right to ask us for our rent each and every month, and if it is not paid, you will be evicted. If you don't pay this, I asked them, could I see my files? We can't find them. What can you find? You can find a way to ask me to pay rent or get out. That's what you can do and have been doing. I would like to speak to someone. I sound harshly because deep inside I am harsh, but I am a person who wants to do and be treated as a correct individual. Do unto others if you would have them to do unto you. If you are over there, you want to be treated correctly. At the present, our grass is up to our knees, hasn't been cut. If you don't believe me, just ride by there, you'll see. It is ridiculous. It is sad. The place used to be beautiful. You had to have time in order to get in it. Now all you have to do is have a few dollars and they'll let you in there. Because the biggest of the people that are in there now are relatives of those managements that they did have, used to have, because a lot of them have left. My 3 minutes are up, but I'm still fighting. But I'm not fighting a losing war.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Megan Moranhan? Yes. My apologies.
All right. Hi. Every time I attend a city meeting, I try my best to be understanding of every single person here. From the mayor to the parking lot protesters, from the west side of town to downtown to my side of town, all sides. There are quite a few problems that the community feels are important. I can only imagine how overwhelming that must be for the board. We all have our problems and worries, but from the outside looking in, I think we as a whole need to prioritize a little better. Don't want potholes, drive a little softer. Don't like the trees and debris flying, just take 10 minutes and pick it up. Make a difference. I'm no different than anyone else who struggles. I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth, but I did grow up and learn the taste of one. How wonderful it must be to have steak night every night or so. But as a whole, or at least the people I know and affiliate with, we don't mind skipping steak to eat hamburgers and homemade fries if that means our fellow American and neighbor gets to have a full belly. Let's just get to the point. We are scared of losing the place we call home. The place we busted our butts to keep up, bills paid, etc. No one knows what the next person goes through just trying to keep a roof over their head. Nobody does. Or what they've been through, or what they continue to go through to try to keep a roof over their head. So this is so much bigger than just an apartment complex in limbo. And that's what we're in. We're in limbo, and it's causing constant problems. Let's all remember this isn't the board's fault, but this is something the board can stand beside us on. You guys are not slow. Suddenly 22 million, now 7 million, billion, whatever, it's not my business. In the city of Little Rock, I've learned this is for sure. Somebody knows somebody that knows something. The path I've chose, mistakes I've made, have enlightened me in a lot of positive areas, such as knowing my intuition doesn't lie. Something's not sitting right. let the light in. Let's tune up what needs to be tuned up. Let's not profile a home based on an area or weird propaganda. We are all human and we can all see. So I ask you today to please see us just as we see you all. We thank you for everything and for your time. And I don't mind an unanswered question pertaining to this situation just seem to be making things worse. Shoot us straight because we are so strong and full of love. We deserve that.
Thank you, Ms. Mangrum.
You're welcome.
Ms. Linda Williams.
Good afternoon to everybody. My name is Miss Linda Bumblebee Williams. I'm one of the organizers for Madison Heights.
And Ms. Williams, I know from last, you can keep your mask as long as your nose.
Okay, well, thank you. The point I'm trying to make, the board, everybody, you all, I have been hearing everything. Every time you turn around about a meeting, I'm at the meeting. The city is trying to help Madison Heights, keep Madison Heights. I want to thank you all first, but I have to give thanks and praise to my Heavenly Father because I've always been praying. I thought I was by myself, but I know I'm not because now I began to see more and more people showing up to try to help keep Madison Heights running and up to par because it has been the nicest place to be. Things has happened, but with you all's help, Mayor, Mrs. Adcock, Mr. Miller, these are the people, and the reason I'm picking out these people is because I kind of know them. I worry the devil out of them all the time about something. But then we have a few people back here in the back, all over the place. We got families here. I try to make sure that y'all stop looking at Madison Heights as a resident. It is a community of all different kind of people, different colors of people. You hear some of the problems that they're telling you that they're having. That's what we're having. But then with you all's help and with ours, because some of these things we can help work it out. Now, I'm taking stuff from my mouth off because I want you to understand. Thank you all. Please help us to keep this nice place nice. It don't look like it right now, but that's because it needs a little maintaining. But if you give us, the people, you see all these different people that's got on little badges and things, all different kinds. Michelle, thank you. Calm down, Linda. I got to calm down because I get upset. But like Miss Charlotte, worked at Children's Hospital, helped me out a long, long time ago. One of the nicest people you want to meet. Mr. Malik Blackman here, he's a veteran. He does all these different things. We're trying to help our little kids. We're not just here. I'm not here just asking for me to continue to stay in Madison Heights. I'm here asking for the people that is there and those that want to be there. Now, some of these people need to go. Now, don't misunderstand me. Some of them need to go because they are destroying our area. And you know, dirt gets in your eyes and you can't see no more.
All right, Ms. Williams.
Thank y'all. There's the children. I'm
Yes,
done.
ma'am.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Ms.
Please,
Williams.
you hear our prayer.
Yes,
In the name
ma'am.
of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, thank y'all for your time.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you all.
Yes, ma'am.
Bye-bye.
All right, M. Howard. M. Howard. M. Howard. Junior Tellez.
Alrighty. My name is Junior. I'm here as an organizer for my community over here on John Barrow. And I was here last week and the week before. And, you know, sometimes it feels like the city doesn't listen. But the thing is, I mean, I have proof because I've sent letters out and messages to each and every one of the directors here and the mayor, and we still haven't gotten a response to answer these questions that I presented last week as well. I have a petition here of over 120 signatures. I only started with 10 about a month ago, and it feels like we're just being ignored. And I don't know. I don't know what else to do. I mean, Mayor Scott, you know, when I came 2 weeks ago to the other meeting, you told everybody over there that they were doing their civic duty. And I think I'm doing mine, but I feel like there's nothing, there's no reciprocation from your end or from the city's end. So we just want, again, to let you guys know we want a meeting. You'll say that you did have one, but I'm sorry, 10 folks showing up at a meeting while I have 120 people that are interested and still no contact from you guys. I don't know what else to do here. I mean, you guys did one with only 4 days notice. I think you should probably have another one to have all 120 people come in and actually be informed about this project. Because again, 10 people out of 120 is not enough. And I think that's, in our democracy, I think that's something we just need to strive for, to have participation from the public and the interested public and the public that actually lives in that neighborhood and are willing to go as long as, you know, we're made on our terms and our terms aren't demanding. Thank you, and I hope you listen to all 120 of us. More growing, because I'm doing this with me and a couple neighbors, and we're all interested in what's going on, and we feel like we need to be heard, because right now it doesn't feel like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tellez. Ms. Monica Solorio.
Hello, good evening. My name is Monica Teles. She's reading for me. I speak English a little bit. It's very important for me. She reading every word. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mariana.
Hello, my name is Mariana Barca, and I'm employee of the City of Little Rock. I'm just here interpreting everything that she's saying, literal, like very literal. So please, this is just her notes, okay? Okay. I know it's very difficult. It's uncomfortable,
You're
but
doing your job, and we're
this
grateful.
is my job, and I'm serving the people just as you are serving the people. So I just wanted to be clear.
We got the disclaimer.
So she said, neighbors from Ward 6, we want a public meeting where we have cameras and people that are there hearing and seeing what the public officials, the elected officials are saying. We want a meeting where we are not, where they communicate us with more days, not only 2 days in advance, as that just happened. We want to be treated with respect because our neighbors were, they told us 2 days before the meeting happened. They told us on Thursday and the meeting was on Friday. So we don't feel respect. We also have things to do. In this meeting, it was only public elected officials and city employees that attended. There was not representation from our neighborhood. How would you justify that that there was also another thing? We want not to feel intimidated because there were 5 police officers. In total, there were 3 senior ladies and 3 young people. This is not a full representation of our neighborhood. We want a meeting where immigrants feel welcome. Our neighborhood is very diverse, and we didn't feel welcome. We feel intimidated because there was a lot of officers at the doors. We are people that work hard, people that also bring value to our neighborhood, and we are always working for the future of this city as well, our kids. We want a meeting where liberty and expression are welcome, where our Ward 5 director doesn't call us liars. She called my daughter a liar and my neighbors, and this is not liberty. This is not democracy, or they don't let us express with liberty. My daughter, she's a full-time student in college, and she has a job, and she's still taking time to come
The time is
and
up. Mariana,
participate.
time is up. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mariana.
Appreciate you, Mariana. All right, Mr. Baker Curris. And then after that, we'll roll into the MHA presentation.
I gave my card in, Mr. Mayor, but I'm mainly here to answer questions. If anybody has questions with respect to the next two items, so I think I'll withhold any further comment, but I'm here to answer questions.
We'll add it there. All right, thank you. Members of the board, you now have before you the resolution for item 31 and 30, and then an ordinance for item 32. I will, before I just give some very brief background, if you recall, a few weeks ago, after Mr. Carpenter and at-large City Director Joan Adcock and I believe also at-large City Director Antoine Phillips, we all went to the court proceeding on April the 29th. Prior to that meeting, this city board voted unanimously to find solutions to help the MHA and also to ask the judge for some time. And so former Mayor Stodola, who is now one of the attorneys for MHA, provided that information to then Judge Mackie Pierce because Judge Compton was not available that particular day due to a family matter. And so because of that, we shared that we already had a unanimous decision by the board to find solutions to have a potential opportunity to help MHA. Since that time, there's been a lot of meetings, a lot of lawyers, a lot of bankers to come up before this proposition that we had before you. A lot of it was worked on by Mr. Baker Curris, a member of CAHC, as well as Nicholas Sarpy, our CFO, and Mr. Tom Carpenter. And so what we have before you is the resolution that you all asked staff to move forward on and voted on unanimously. And so on the next week, we will either next week or either get with Mr. Sarpy to see if we can, either it's the next Tuesday or the June the 3rd, we will take up a vote to keep our word with the judge. As I shared, and I won't go into too much detail, this is a public policy decision on affordable housing, and then two, a political decision on whether or not we want to do this, make this effort. It will be a vote, and so we can share with the judge whether we were able to find solutions or not. And so we know you want to take some time to digest this. I now want to shift to Mr. Attorney to help you understand the deal from a legal standpoint. I want to commend him as well for working on this as well. Mr. Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. I did a resolution for the board that it was placed at your desk tonight, and I think, no, I don't. The resolution basically notes the problem with MHA, the fact MHA has been ruled to be a state entity by the Arkansas Supreme Court, with a special statement that even though the board of directors appointed the initial board and has abilities over the appointment of members and on the removal of members for misfeasance, nonfeasance, or malfeasance, it's still a state entity according to the Arkansas Supreme Court. I noted that there was a need for some $7.5 million to take care of some outstanding debts on notes that were made by a entity created by MHA as loans on two properties in Madison Heights 1 and Madison Heights 2, that the city wishes to do what it can, if it can do so legally, that the city has an interest to assure persons are provided the possibility of clean, affordable housing, even if they possess only a low to moderate income, and that there's statutory authority to either loan monies to a housing authority, or there could be a use of short-term financing under Amendment 58, which could make monies available. The first section indicates the interest of the city, or acknowledges the concerns there, and notes the interest of the city in working with MHA. Section 2 sets a number of criteria that need to be met in order for the city to be able to make an investment, make a loan, do something financially to help MHA out of this problem. The hearing that the mayor told you was on April the 29th. The hearing was continued for 90 days to August the 1st. If the foreclosure document, if the loans have not been repaid to the lender, the MHA has committed that it will not challenge foreclosure. And so that means the foreclosure would go through. It would probably lead to a sale of the properties. It seems likely that the Lindor's $5.2 million would be their bid, since they wouldn't have to pay anything except that. If somebody bid more, then they could get the price, and there could be a bid that way, but that's what would happen. We got an appraisal today that the two properties together in a fixed condition were worth around $20 million, that the two properties as is are worth together around $18 million. The problems that we've got is that there are various entities that have some sort of interest in the property. Of course, the lenders do. They've got the foreclosure action for that. The Department of Housing and Urban Development has some sort of interest in it. And the state of Arkansas, according to the Arkansas Supreme Court, has an interest. So essentially, the first three things are asking that everybody that's got an interest in the property sign a release before the city would provide any funds, that they're not going to assert those interests, and that document can be actually filed with the real estate records. It would also require any joint venture of MAA that has an interest in the property, or CAHC, to sign over its interest in the properties to MHA. The statute is specific that a municipality can loan money to a public housing authority it created, but there is nothing that allows it to award money to a corporation that was created by that public housing authority, or to a joint venture that was created by that public housing authority. I suspect the reason for that is this concept wasn't really available in 1937 when they first did the Housing Act, nor in 1940 when the city actually did the resolution to create the Little Rock Housing Authority, which is now doing business as MHA. Once we've got those things in order prior to any disbursement of funds, we need to get MHA to execute a document to establish that the two properties, MH1 and MH2, will be used as collateral for a loan or security for a debt to the city, and that our releases are present, that the city would have audited financial records to establish how the monies provided by the city will be repaid from MHA, And that's essentially in a form or format that's acceptable to the city attorney's office, but more importantly, to the finance director's office. During the period that the loan is outstanding, the city places upon MHA certain requirements. We can't control MHA. I mean, it is a state entity. We are a local government. When the city of Fort Smith tried to add 2 members to be more representative of their community to a housing authority board, the Arkansas Supreme Court said the statute doesn't let you do that. The statute doesn't let you interfere with state actions. This is a state action. It is a state agency. So we would want to make sure that there's insurance on the property, that the operation and management of the properties are done by MHA, that the MHA would indemnify the city on any claim of any nature that may be made, that the city would have access at reasonable times to inspect books, records, audit reports, and any other documents needed, that the city would have the right to refuse action by MHA before it has been agreed upon with the city that might create a colorable or recognized claim against the properties, that the failure to timely pay any amount, taxes, contracts, insurance, would essentially be a breach, that in order to preserve the city's rights at the time the money is loaned, title searches would be completed, and fee simple title warranty deeds for both MH1 and MH2 would be placed in escrow at an entity acceptable to both, so that if there is a failure, the city can notify MHA of the failure, and if it's not taken care of reasonably, then the city has title to the property. We don't have to go through a foreclosure action. The last one, because of some various problems with the statutes and how things are done and what kind of entity this is, would require a qualified legal opinion that the city is able to enter into this loan agreement with MHA. That would not be done by my office. I would not recommend that it be done by the Attorney General's office. I would recommend it be done by a firm that qualifies as bond counsel and can look into and issue unqualified opinions on tax matters should they be there. If those are all done and the city wants to do it, then we can move forward. I want to tell you that 90 days from the hearing was August the 1st. Today is the 21st day, so there's 69 days to put this all together. There's only 60 days, it takes at least 60 days according to the finance department to get through the process to issue short-term financing notes if that's the avenue that's to be taken. So what's not in the resolution but is of practical nature is that if the board's heading in this direction, we really need to get some agreement with the lender that they're not going to pursue the foreclosure while we're going through these steps to get this done. I think these are reasonable steps to protect the city's interest. It gives MHA a ability to pay off those 2 loans. It gives MHA a source of funds to do the rehabilitations we know are needed at 1 and 2, and monies may be needed elsewhere, and to operate the thing in such a fashion that, as Mr. Kurz particularly pointed out, should be something that could be repaid within a reasonable period of time. It does not set a time frame for any financing. Short-term financing is limited to a period of 5 years. If it's just a loan, then I think the city has some flexibility as to what the time frame would be for repayment.
Thank you so much. I also want to share with members of the board, if this board moves forward with the vote, whether we take it next Tuesday or the following Tuesday, and we make this significant progress, I do believe that the judge would allow additional time and/or the lender to work through that process. And so I do want to uplift that. That being said, if Chairman Wright, if you'll come. First, before I ask any questions of you, and maybe if Mr. Curris could come make his way as well, and I'm sure board members, I want Mr. Curris, when he gets a chance, as a former banker, I could work through this deal and share you what Mr. Curris is talking about, but it may be better for you all to hear from Mr. Curris rather than me. And, no, but we're not getting right, not yet. And then also, and I see Mayor Stoller already got moved. I was going to come to you as well, Chairman Wright. If you come back. All right. Well, first and foremost, Chairman Wright, I'm going to ask you a few questions I think I already know the answer to, so I just want to get a yes or a no. Are you and your board in full lock and step in wanting this?
Yes.
Unanimous?
Yes.
All right. So, Monty, are you Mr. Are you unanimous? I have my doubts. So you're not unanimous. I just want to make sure, because, but majority of your board would like to move forward. Is that what you're saying, Mr. Wright?
There are doubts, even with me, but I think the majority is for it, yes. The majority of the board is for it. Karen is for it, I believe. Stacy? We haven't. Go ahead.
Keep Madison Heights, so
Yes, that's my question. Yeah. So.
All right, that's all I need. So, but you've been working with Mr. Curris on this, correct?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Mr. Curris?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to reserve any of the detailed questions any board members may have in regards to the deal, rent rolls, how you do a pro forma. I think everyone needs to understand pro formas are merely just that, as a pro forma. It's a projection. It's not defined. There's a lot. It's more of a plan of action, and there are a lot of trials and tribulations in a pro forma. But any bank deal rests with liquidity and collateralization. Am I correct?
Yes, sir. That's a good place to start. Two things. Can you pay it off, and what happens if you don't?
Yep. All right. So that's what you've worked hard about on this as a volunteer. I want to share our appreciation on behalf of the city that you did work hard on this to get us to the point to save Madison Heights. And so if there are any members I'm not going to walk through the deal. You've done that before. I know we got this before us, but I want you to be available for any questions at the next time when we have a voting meeting if members of the board don't have any questions. Members of the board have any questions about the deal? Director Miller?
Thank you, Mayor. I see the presentation. I don't know if we're going to go over this presentation or not, but just a couple of general questions. Who's on the CAHC board? Is that Central Arkansas Housing Corporation?
Yes, sir.
Who's on that board?
Well, Jeremiah Russell is here. Quinata Mumford, Dr. Quinata Mumford is on the board, and I think Monty Baugh is now on the board. I'm no longer on the board.
So you have someone on the board that's from from MHA, is on the Central Arkansas Housing Authority Board too?
Yes, sir.
Isn't that a conflict?
Well, let me add, if I might real quickly say, that was the state of affairs for approximately 5 years. Those boards were essentially the same people starting in 2020.
It's all right.
Yeah,
he has the floor, and Director Miller.
Yeah, there are situations where conflicts could arise, but in essence, those two boards should work together, and they need to be communicative. And I don't know that it matters too much if there's a person or two that's on both, but the main thing is that they should have independent rights, and they should exercise those. So I'm not in favor of having too many crossovers there, but that was the situation that you, the city had, made those appointments yourself.
So I think that's a problem, quite frankly.
We did not appoint CAHC ever.
No, you appointed Mr. I don't really want to get into the whether it's a state agency or not, or whether MHA, the city, and CAHC have adverse interests, because I don't think they do. I think that's the wrong approach. I think if it's not a team approach, if it's not a unity of purpose in some sort of sense that we're all in this together, then we're wasting our time. and there shouldn't be conflicts of interest. I agree with you, Director Miller. I would have separate boards. I would do that, but that's not the way it was. And of course, this board, in all candor, was notified as early as 2020 that there were major problems there. Then there were major problems in 2022. I'm not casting aspersions. I'm just saying, if we want to talk about all the things that we could have done, should have done, or might have done, we'll never get very far.
I don't want to talk about what
Okay.
shoulda, coulda. I want to talk about right now.
Me too.
And so you got someone on your board that's serving on both boards. That's not right. I don't see that as.
That can be fixed with a heartbeat.
All right, well, I think that needs to be.
Director Miller,
I think that.
you need to know that the Department of Housing and Urban Development prefers that entities like Central Arkansas Housing Corporation actually have the very same board of directors as the Public Housing Authority. And we have brought that to their attention and told them that this board, when everything was getting redeveloped, was not going to be the same. And the regional director told me, but we like it that way. And Mr. Curtis is absolutely right. If everybody's working at arm's length, it's great. But if they don't, then there's a potential for problems.
Yeah.
That's what you're pointing out, but that's basically HUD's background.
That regional director's gone though, right?
No,
Same regional director?
he's still in place as far as I know.
I know that I can clarify
It's
that
not
Mr.
Mr.
Landecker
It's
is
not
gone. I don't know who
It's not the
Mr.
person that was
Carpenter.
here from Little Rock. It's the regional director, I think,
Who,
here in Oklahoma.
who's the regional director?
I don't know. Tony Landecker was the
Tony
regional
Landecker
director, but I
still-
don't think they've appointed a new one. They've actually moved everybody out of their office from here,
Yeah. Mr.
except for one
Landecker is not
person.
who I'm talking
But again, that makes no difference to me. I don't think that's where the answer lies. I don't think that's where the problem lies.
Well-
The whole reason these nonprofit corporations were set up was to qualify these same entities. The housing corporation was set up so that MHA could participate in what was a very interesting program, very complex program. And Mr. Howard could discuss it. I could talk more about it, but it was mainly a way to use a certain amount of federal funding to leverage these properties and rehabilitate them. And that's all it was. It was never anything more or less than that. And Mr. Carpenter is exactly right. Most of those entities had the exact same personnel as the Housing Authority Board. And it was used as a tool to qualify for these rental assistance demonstration projects that were done under Section 18.
Director Miller?
Yeah, are we gonna get a presentation on this handout? Because I see on some of the uses of funds, they got pool repairs optional. I think that needs to be optional. I don't think it needs to be part of this funding. But I didn't know if we were gonna go over this line item or not.
This, Ms. Nadine, did you do this, Ms. Nadine?
I believe I did an earlier version of that.
So this is not your version?
No, sir.
So a version, not your version was passed out?
I don't know what was passed out.
Let's look at it. I'll give it to you.
Dang, man,
Your version was the one sent.
yeah, I mean, what are we looking at here?
I don't know. It was. Ms. Nadine, if you'll come, if you drafted it, let us know if that's your version or someone else's version.
Good evening, everybody, directors.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, guys.
Mr. Curtis. I'm sure we'll bring you back up.
Sure. Good evening.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, sure. Can you hear me now? Okay. So you want to go through the presentation?
I want to
Well,
make
yeah.
sure this is your I want to make sure what we're looking at is what we should be looking at.
Okay, can you go to the last page? Can we just skip to the very last page and I'll let you know? Okay, this version was a modification of what I originally submitted. We had a meeting late yesterday and several board members as well as the attorney modified what I had originally submitted, but I am fully aware of what is in this version.
So what are the modifications?
There were quite a few slides that were removed that you don't have, that was in my version, but, yeah. But this pretty much gets to the basis and the gist of what we want to present to the Board of Directors.
All right, so any questions, Director Miller?
I want to see, well,
Okay.
Yeah, let's start from the beginning.
Okay, so if you start from the beginning of the version that you have, was just an overview of the property. Yeah.
Well, hold on one second. She's going through.
Is what we're looking at the version, is it what you created, minus the slides that are?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
All right, that's what I'm.
yes. So if you don't mind, I'll kind of start going through this. Some of the high-level performer information was a little bit over my head. I'm going to admit that. I did have some assistance with this. My new deputy director assisted with doing this, as well as the commissioner, the attorney, and the chairman all contributed to this. So the first slide that you see is an overview of the property, how many, the question was raised at one meeting that I came to, exactly how many people do you serve that actually are subsidized or a low to moderate income? And as you see, 176 of the 241 are considered either low to moderate income. So you would be helping a huge part of the population that actually needs assistance. So I thought that I would put this on the slide that you could clearly see what portion of those residents at Madison are needing assistance. The other thing that we pointed out with this slide is that the whole concept of if you fix it or if you build it, will they come? Well, yes, they will. We have a very, very robust waiting list. You've heard everybody talk about how in the past it was very nice and how we have over 3,000 people on the waiting list for Madison 1 and over 3,000 on the waiting list for Madison 2. So there is a very, very robust waiting list that in the event that we lease up or make the repairs, we won't have any problem leasing up those units. At the bottom is just a breakdown of the bedroom size. I think that that's pretty much pretty straightforward, and how many vacancies we have, a total of 52 vacancies out of the 241. If you go to the next page, and I'm going to just talk to you a little bit about how we did the rent analysis. I've been there 10 months. I inherited a lot of the 4 years prior to my arriving, some of the issues that brought us to this table. One of the things that we have been plagued with is unreliable data in terms of actual rent collections and the amounts of rent. We are working on correcting that. We do have a process in place now where we can get much more reliable numbers, probably in the next 3 to 4 months. We had a major software issue. This housing authority, over the course of 4 years, the last 2 years, went through 4 software platforms. If you're even a high-performing agency or a really strong agency, you cannot go through 4 software platforms in that short of time. So all that did was exacerbated an already bad situation. And so what we did here was look at the average rents based on the input, the best information that we had, and we did a projections. One of the things that HUD allows you to do is to go over the fair market rent. Fair market rent is established by HUD. You can Google FMR, and it'll tell you bedroom size, very specific to the state of Arkansas and very specific to this county, what you can charge as rents. What HUD allows you to do is go over that rent. You can go up to 120% over that rent. So what we did was give you guys some idea that if it was fully occupied and you had 120%, what revenue you would generate using those different scenarios. So the first scenario is where we are right now at 83% occupancy. And what we're generating on average. Again, I have to do a disclaimer that these are not actual numbers, because we did not want to mislead you, because we don't have reliable data. And again, it is what it is. I'm 10 months in, I'm working my hard out to try to get it right, but these are our best numbers based on what we have right now. And then we're 83% occupied now. We're saying, what would we get if we were 100% occupied? And that's where you get the difference between 158 and 196. And then I explained at the bottom, the whole concept of going up to 120% is called an OCAF. is where HUD allows you to go up to that 120%. There are some steps that you have to do to get there. You have to do comps. You have to go and make sure that this is competitive, but HUD does allow you to go up to 120% of FMR. And so the next page, page 4, basically talks about the different scenarios at the different rents and the different percentages. And the very last part of page 4, it says 95% occupancy. And the reason why we did this was to hopefully give you a more realistic expectation of what would happen, because you very seldom ever get up to 100%. 95 is the average for the industry that we're in. So that last box on page 4 presents the data at 95% occupancy. So the mayor has already explained, or I'm sorry, Attorney Carpenter did, about the appraisal that we received. We were so happy. It did come in at 18.7.
Said 20.
It was 20, it's two different ones. One's 20 and one's 18.
Okay.
And it as is 18.7, and then the appraiser also did a best case scenario if we do repairs, and it came in at 20.4, I think. But we literally just got that hot off the press this morning, and we were anxious to share that it is holding market value. That property is a good property. I don't know if you know marketing terms, but that is what we would call a cash cow. It will definitely cash flow if you invest in it and bring it up to speed. So it is a very, very good investment. There are some basic numbers. I believe that some of these numbers were reworked. Again, as the mayor said, the actual performers in 30 years versus the percentages, all of that is, again, strictly a work in progress, and something that, to be honest with you, I'm not super versed in. I do have my deputy, I have people a lot smarter than me that was working on this. Commissioner Barr was working on it, Chairman Wright was there. So as far as the actual performance statistics, if you want to delve into that, I probably would have to defer to one of them. So with that said, the things that you see on page 6, and the debt service ratio and those kind of figures, again, these are just best guesses based on the information we had at hand. I can't even tell you the ratio. Is that a good ratio, or are the debt service?
It is a good ratio. So in banking terms, on average, you want to see something 1.2 debt coverage ratio. Anything over and above that is great. So you can get a deal done at 1.2. It gets real skinny at 1.1. You probably won't even get it done. So these are goods, but again, it's a pro forma.
Yes, sir.
I've never seen a bad pro forma. So.
Yeah. So the use of funds, I was asked about a month ago to talk about what would we do, and of course the top of the list is paying off the debt. That is the first number that you see, and then there's a whole bunch of items that we would use, because I believe the whole strategy was to pay off the debt and at the same time have enough money left over to go and bring the units online and repair those units. And some of them, as you can see from that list, we had some difficult things. We had a car that ran into a building. We had some mold. We have roof. We have lighting. We have various things, but the HVAC at Madison 1 and Madison 2, but it does magically add up to the 7.5 million.
And I think everyone can read through the remainder unless there's some, but I now want to
ask any questions?
I know Director Miller had a question. I was going to bring Mr. Curris back up. Director Miller, then Director Phillips, then bring Mr. Curris.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, Mayor. Just a couple of observations or questions. As relates to where you are right now. Mm-hmm. Do you have any idea, based on the software that you currently are using and the data that you have available, how many people are paying their rent on time, who's 30 days behind, who's 60 days behind, who's 90 days behind? Do you have?
We have that information starting June 1st, which is right around the corner. We spent last weekend, we hired an expert that is an expert in the software. We hired an expert to come in and sit by our employees and do the data entry and train them on how to make sure that we capture the right information for the right households and the right funding source. The thing about Madison 1 and 2, as Director Hines spoke a while back, it is one of those mixed finance deals that has a bunch of different tiers. You have tax credit, you have, light tech, and then you have public housing, and then you have project-based. So you got to it's very complex. And so we will be able, effective June 1st, to have very specific and very good numbers. So we have been working on that.
So at this point, you really don't know how many people are paying their rent on time and who may be 30 days behind, or do people get 60 or 90 days behind?
I think we're getting there.
I mean, are people allowed to get that far behind, or?
There has been a process in the past that Ms. Jones kind of spoke of that fed into the mismanagement. No, you're not supposed to get 30, 60, 90 days behind. Did it occur? Yes, it did.
Is it current? I mean, are people behind now?
No,
currently?
I mean, they are, but we're bringing them current. And that's some of the pushback that you may hear about, is that if you went 90 days or a year without paying rent or paying a little rent, and now that we're trying to make it right, there's going to be some angst. It's like, okay, I was only paying $200, now you're asking me to pay $600. But in order to get the ship right, we have to do it the right way, and we got to make changes, and we got to address the mistakes from the past. So there is going to, but yes, to answer your question, Director Miller, we're getting there. We're not there, but we will be there.
Okay, let me call your attention to page 8.
Okay.
Liquidation, because we're saying cash is king. That's what
Yes,
we're
sir.
looking at. If these MHA assets are liquidated, that's the projection of what we're going to clear, over $2 million.
That's the projection, yes, sir.
I'm looking at these estimated projections, and on Wolf Street, that's already closed. You already got that $466,000.
Yes.
What's that money going to be used for?
It's actually on the next page. The 466 all went to item number 1, which is past debts that the agency had accrued.
The bank loan? It's not the bank loan. It's some other debts.
No, this is vendors. This is vendors that had not been paid and that we had accrued a balance. And so almost all of the proceeds from the sale of Wolf Street is going to make those vendors current.
Okay. And I look at these estimated sales prices. Just a quick question, like on 2701 Main Street, the proceeds you're going to get there, it shows that, what, $90,000 worth of sales expenses? The difference from 440 to 350, that's $90,000. What costs $90,000 to sell a piece of property? What are we paying here?
I'd have to I'd have to defer to Commissioner Barr. He's been working on sale of assets.
Just respectively, if you go down that list, one sales cost is $28,000, another's $35,000, another's $42,000, and then this one is $90,000.
Yes, sir.
So can somebody answer that?
Mayor Stoller or Chairman Wright, whichever one.
I want to answer that. There you go.
Based on the inspection of the property, there's about a $62,000 expense to support, to repair the laminated structures that hold the building up. And we have been asking for a variety of different estimates on that, and the lowest one we've got is $62,000 to repair. There are actually 8
of those structures. If you've been by to see the building, it is basically kind of a Quonset hut building, and it's got these laminated wooden structures that need to be stabilized. And the staff have, I think they've inventoried at least 3 or 4 different estimates on it. The least one we received was $62,000.
Okay. And let me ask you.
That's why there's the difference that you asked about.
All right, thank you. That's good. Appreciate that. Let me ask you on the use of funds for your administrative office, things that need to be repaired.
Yes, sir.
You know, Mayor, the city of Little Rock has buildings that need to be repaired. HVACs and all those type things. I mean, these funds, if they're going to clear these funds, that ought to go towards Madison Heights or one. I mean, I don't see.
And I think we can demand that.
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna fix it, we're gonna make some loans to fix some buildings. We ought to fix our
Chairman
own.
Wright, would you be okay with that?
That's actually the schedule, the plan.
Okay.
The plan was, on the Wolf Street, was to get caught up on a couple of payments, bad debt, or not bad debt, but of our vendors.
And I'm looking, we may not can demand that right now on that particular thing. I'm looking at our city attorney, but I think everybody, we would expect that.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm just looking at roof repair, HVAC, bat infestation. I mean, we got a lot of that stuff at our own buildings, so I would question using money from the sales. They're coming here with their hat in their hand, asking us. They need to put some of that money somewhere else as opposed to trying to fix their administrative building.
I think they won't have a problem to put that on the building.
And then this 100% inspections, I don't know what that is. What is that?
That is, okay, let me get into the meat of this. One of the reasons why they're troubled and why you've been hearing this huge amount that is owed is that we need to do 100% inspections for our Section 8 program. HUD basically closed out, and it's a $29 million fallacy. HUD closed out the finding that referenced this whole amount owed. They only asked us for 1.2 million, and they sent an actual demand letter for the 1.2 million. But in order for us to make sure that these other items that was in that quality assurance department report, we need to inspect our units, which will give us the opportunity to generate more revenue. It's a process. You have to have inspection, and then you have to do what they call a 50058. I know that's HUD terms, but we want to make sure that we are 100% leased up in both our vouchers and our public housing units. And in order to do that and get the most money, we have to do an inspection. That's part of the process before we can increase the rent, before we can occupy. They really got behind on their annual recertifications and their inspections. And in order to get the most money, we would probably need to do 100% inspection of our Housing Choice Voucher program. And our Housing Choice Voucher, I know this is off the Madison 1 and 2 issue, but it's a domino effect. You have to get your house in order. The Housing Choice Voucher is just as important. Madison 1 and 2 is the physical. And it may not be in your district, but the domino effect is the HCV program that has 3,000 vouchers and 700 landlords. I can assure you that some of those landlords are probably in some of your districts. So it is a domino effect. We're trying to get the whole agency healthy. So again, that's a sidebar conversation, and one of the things that
Let's keep it a sidebar. You got another question?
Yeah, just, and I'm gonna leave. I want my other colleagues to have a chance. I'm sorry. I'm just curious because I think the liquidation, some of these funds on page 8 need to be directed somewhere else.
Okay.
And then also, just my last question: how much money do you guys have in the bank right now?
Oh, our cash flow.
No, how much money do you have in the bank?
I would say right at the last cash statement that I saw was right at $2 million.
So you got $2 million in the bank right now.
But that is up and down. It may be in the bank today, but by the time we pay our landlords at the end of the month, that can go down to as low as 200 and 300,000. Most of that is for landlords. Our biggest program is the ACV program.
Okay, all right, thank you, Mayor, I'm sorry.
All right, and before we go forward, members of the board, Mr. Curtis, you come up. Yep, we'll get to it. Mr. Curtis. Members of the board, I just want to make sure everyone understands this deal, what Mr. Curtis has done is a bank deal. It does not pencil unless there is a guarantor, good collateralization, and liquidity. And so the question is, Mr. Curtis, walk us through what happens in the whole goal, members of the board, again, is for the city, if you also choose to move forward to save Madison Heights, it's for the city to be taken out of the loan. We have to figure out how to make a payment. Mr. Sarpy in the back has negotiated with the short-term note that we only make one payment within a year. To do all the things that Dr. Nadine Jarman has shared, if you fix things up, if you actually achieve some of the things with the pro forma, there's a good chance that we'll be taken out within a year to 18 months. I know on good accord, there are banks right now, and Mr. Sarpy's talked to a couple, that we can be taken out, but again, if the city guarantees a loan and things that is all in full faith and credit of the city. So we can get our money recovered to save Madison Heights. So Mr. Curtis, would you walk through what happens if we forget all the finances right here and the woulda, shoulda, coulda, wouldas? If we loan the money, what is the process within a year? Because what's going to happen is Mr. Sarpy is going to say, hey, we got a $2 million note that we got to pay next July. And right now, this only shows worst case scenario, $200,000, best case scenario, $400,000, which is a good thing if you have a 30-year or 15 or 20-year amortization, not on a 5-year balloon note. So we got to spend somewhere around $1.6 million unless we talk to the bank and say, hey, we want to do interest only for 18 months. There's a lot of things you can move around. This is a traditional bank deal. What happens if we give you the money?
Well,
and we being MHA, CHC.
right. I think the cascade ends up, as you say, in the property. First off, all the money won't be drawn at once. I mean, the 5.4 will go out immediately, but then the rest of it will be, I would say, if it could be set up as a line of credit. So there's a really good chance, I say really good chance. I'll just say it's not automatic that every single other dime gets drawn. If you get the property up, get it running. If HUD contributes, there'll be some HUD money that comes into the property. If HUD continues to do what it's done in the past, and Dr. Jarman would be the one to answer the specifics, but HUD allocates money, capital improvement money every year. And so this HUD money would come in to the owner of the property for use in capital improvement. Has to be used for that. Of course, that's what we're going to be doing. So we can't predict how much that's going to be. And if you can predict what's going to happen in Washington with federal agencies right now or tariffs, there's a future for you somewhere. But that's kind of betting on the come. It's hard. Nobody can amortize an apartment project like this over a 5-year term. It's just not going to happen. So there's going to be a scramble. And I wouldn't make the loan until I was convinced, as you are, would need to be that there's a plan for that. And it would include, in the meantime, conversations with HUD. It would include some sense of where this, some of the money from liquidation might go. And it would include a phasing of the costs, because I'm not so sure it would be prudent to try to spend, say, $2 million in 1 year out there. I don't know that they could gear up and make those improvements. Might not do the pool. I mean, we might not have a pool. Well, that's the worst things. The whole thing, the concept of this is to keep in mind, this project's not brand new. It's been cash flowing for years. I mean, it was rehabbed in was it 2000? 1996 it was rehabbed. Yeah, so it worked for a long, long time. And it will work. But the secret and the key to the whole thing is to get serious about finding out who's in the rooms, how much are the apartments, how much are they paying? All the questions Mr. Miller asked are and you, Mr. Mayor, have asked are dead on. It's got to change operationally, and it will. I'm certain that it will. If it doesn't, then you're going to end up owning it and be out no money if it's worth half what the appraised value is.
Yeah, I agree. It prays for 20 million, and we sell it, we'll get our money back. Director Phillips has some questions. Thank you, Mr. Kurz. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Mayor. I had a couple questions for Mr. Kurz and then a couple for Dr. Jarman. Let me first say, I think I called you Miss Jarman. I want to put respect on your name, Dr. Jarman, so I apologize for that. But first, as it relates to Mr. Kurz, what I hadn't been able to wrap my head around is two things. One, I know you sent us a memo back in March, kind of explaining the deal, and then we got something this week with loan structures, kind of going step by step on the deal. In step 6, it say MHA would make a collateral assignment of the notes and the related security investments to the city. My question is, can MHA do that without HUD being involved?
Well, I think a couple things about HUD. The answer is that is yet to be, I think so, but we'd have to get confirmation of that, and that would be a condition. This would look like a commitment letter, and that's sort of what the resolution looks like, a commitment letter to make a loan if, but only if, a whole series of things happen that put you in a position of being fully secured. And that's at step 6. I took a slightly different approach, and I don't need to get into the nuts and bolts of exactly the mechanics of what I would do or what I would advise as an experienced real estate lawyer with respect to this deal. But the whole premise of the loan would be that you would be in a first lien position when the smoke clears, period, without any question. I don't think HUD needs to release. They have a trust agreement that dates back well before this loan, and doesn't need to be released, nor would we want it to be, because that's where the HUD support for the project comes, the HUD units that are part of the project. So, am I getting to your question?
I think so, and if I heard you correctly, that you didn't think, if I heard you correctly, HUD would have to be involved in this, which is essentially what the city attorney told us in the resolution. And then I guess that brings up a different question I have for the city attorney. Assuming all those things don't happen, I read your resolution in the conjunctive that A through J had to happen, all of them. If any one of them don't happen, then we don't do this,
Right.
correct?
Or if we have given them the money already and it doesn't happen, we take title to the property that's escrowed.
Okay. All right, second question. Thank you for that, city attorney. Second question, and I think this for you because I think the mayor has lifted you up as kind of the brains of the
well,
operation.
we're in trouble, aren't we?
Whether that's true or not, that's where you are. Another thing I haven't been able to wrap my head around, I do get the idea that us being involved for a short period of time and then essentially being able to be out the deal in 2 years. I kind of get that. The mayor brought up the question, well, what do we do in the interim? Because we still going to have to make a note payment. I think another fundamental question to that is, and it's going to sound very basic, how does the money get to us? Are we going to get monthly payments? Is it going to be an annual payment?
That'll be up to you.
Okay.
That'll be up to you. I like the monthly payment if I were sitting in the lender's chair. But all of that will be part of the promissory note that's signed by MHA, signed by the actual owners of the property, Madison Heights Limited Partnership and MH1 LP or whatever it is. They would sign the promissory note. That note would be secured by the property, one way or the other. The way these deals go down, and you know this, I know Anthony Phillips knows this, Antoine Phillips, excuse me,
There you go.
Antoine. I know your name, and I apologize.
I know you know me.
Yeah, Director Phillips knows this. You get a title commitment, and it'll have a whole series of things that are called requirements. They'll be on what's called Schedule B2. And in order to get a first lien position, it'll be the borrower's responsibility to comply with every single thing. Every single thing. They'll want to know the nature of the entities. They'll want to know, they'll do a title search. They'll find out any liens on the property. And then that will be the basis from which you get leveraged into a first lien position. And that's essential. So that you don't, essentially, the worst case scenario, which we don't want to visualize, would be that you end up with a property with extremely high value for much less than it appraises for. Now, the reality is we've still got to make the first payment. And that's going to be that's the tension in this deal.
Right, and that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Yeah. It's got to perform, and the mayor said it right. Nobody's ever submitted a pro forma to a lender that didn't show that it wasn't drawn up by a person named Rosie Scenario. You know, that's what they look. But this thing's got to perform, and it's performed in the past. But can it gin up enough money internally to pay down 1/5 of a principal loan in the amount of 7.5? No, that's $1.5 million. 20% of 7.5. 1/5 of that is 1,750, I think. No,
but you have the interest in that too.
Yeah,
so probably
it won't do that.
Yeah,
No property would. But the wrinkle is that you try to borrow as little as you can. You maybe cut out the pool. You get the HUD money. You take some of these other properties and you use those proceeds as you can. But that's the situation where we are. I wish it were different, but it's not. That's the reality.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kurz. Dr. German, can I ask you a couple questions about the presentation?
Yes, sir.
So I just want to get clarity on a couple things. I know Director Miller went line by line, so I won't do that much work. But just to make sure I'm clear, the property appraised for 8.7 as is, and then 20 million with the upgrades. Do I understand that correctly? 18.7.
Yes, sir.
As is, but with upgrades, 20 million. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure I understood that. And then you mentioned that HUD allows you to charge up to 120% of that set number.
Yes.
In your opinion, can the folks currently at Madison Heights afford that increase?
The good thing about the OCAF is that the people don't incur that increase.
Okay.
What we do is we get more subsidy, but the residents don't have to pay anymore.
I did not know that. That's
Yes,
important.
Yes, sir. The way it works, there's two portions. There's the tenant portion, and then there's the subsidy. The OCAF would allow us to draw more subsidy, but the tenant's portion is strictly based on their income. As long as their income don't go up, then they will always pay the same.
Okay. And then into Director Miller's question on page 8 related to this, so there's about 2.1 million there. Then on the next pages, you have some debts of about 900,000 that need to get taken care of with these liquidation proceeds. So there's $1.1 million. Do I understand that money is going to the mayor's point, can be used to help support what we're trying to do with MHA, that differential?
Not only the differential, if you look on page 9, the number 2 item, that's sort of like a set aside, but we have disputed HUD in terms of they're saying how much money we owe them, and we've been very successful. They had originally said that we owed $770,000 in CARES Act money. All we did was prove that we spent it on eligible expenses. That amount went down from $770 to $4,942. So even that amount that's on number 2 could easily, I do have a team that's challenging that, and I feel confident we'll be very successful in reducing that.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, after liquidation of those 4 properties, there will be $1 million plus, theoretically, that could be used to help part of the financing of whatever this board decides to do.
Right, and you said the best word was theoretically,
Right.
and it all has to do with the sale of the properties, and we do have other assets. We're trying to let you know that we're operating in good faith, that we also want to carry our own load as much as we can. So, I mean, those are some good points in terms of certain things that we could do with those funds to help this process.
Okay, that's what I had for you. Thank you, Dr. Jarman. And then, Mayor, if I can ask a question of Mayor Stoller.
Yes, and just one thing for Dr. Jarman. If you get approved by your board, can you go ahead and send us a memo that if those sales do happen, that you'll send it into a reserve account to the city of Little Rock to pay for any potential financing?
I will,
Take it to
of
the
course, I'll take it to the board. Yes,
All right.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. That's what I was getting at, but didn't say it as eloquently as you did. So thank you.
My pleasure.
Mayor Stoller, I wanted to get a clarification from you on page 8 as it relates to the Main Street sale that Director Miller asked about. And he mentioned there's a $90,000 differential, and I think you said there's $32,000 for kind of some repairs.
62,000 and some number.
62.5 in repairs.
Yes, the cost to stabilize the structures that hold this building up.
Okay.
There are 8.
Keep going. I'm sorry.
There are 8 of these laminate. If you've been by it, there are 8 laminate wooden structures that go up to the top, kind of in a Quonset hut basis, and those need to be stabilized and repaired. Some of the bottom of them has been deteriorated, and the engineer has been there and determined that that is what is necessary to stabilize the structure.
Okay, so, and this may be 6 in one hand and half a dozen in the other, but if we have to pay for the repairs, can we have just discounted the property price to make, or that is what you did?
Yeah,
Okay.
that is. Yeah, and you know, the history on this is interesting because there was an obligation on the part of the church to maintain the property. Obviously, that hasn't been done. There was an obligation on the part of the city to do regular inspections. Unfortunately, it doesn't appear that that was done. This was a lease between the city of Little Rock and St. John's Church, and it was to be used during the week for community activities, and the church was able to use it on the weekends for services. And somewhere along the way, a lot of these responsibilities were just not accomplished. It was $1 a year for 25 years. There's about 2.5 years left on it, and we're going to, between Mr. Carpenter and myself, we're letting the church know that we're terminating the contract for breaches of the lease. The Housing Authority owns it. The lessor is the city of Little Rock, and we're going to figure out how to cancel that lease and make sure that we can go ahead and complete that sale.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Can I keep going, Mayor? I'm having fun. Can I talk to Director Sarpy?
Yes, and then we got to get to Director Compuris and then to Director Hines, and then I think we got enough until we have our vote.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Director Sarpy, I just wanted to make sure I understood some of the context of the other conversations. I know that we'll have one annual payment if we do the short-term financing at the 5-year note that's going to be due a year from whenever we receive approval of the note, correct?
That's once it closed, yes.
Yep. So my question is, whatever that differential is that we have to make up, so Madison Heights makes $400,000. I think the mayor said that it may be a differential of 1.6, whatever that number is. We would have to pay that, and I guess my question to you is, would that have to come from our reserve funds? How do you expect we are able to make up the difference?
Per Amendment 78, it has to come from general revenues of the city, so it'd be the general fund.
Okay, that's what I need to know. Thank you. I'm done now, Mayor.
All right, Director Compuris. Then Director Hines.
Mine is very easy, and Tom, this is to you. It looks to me, and then as the mayor's found out, and y'all have found out, I'll study this, and I'm sure in the next day or two, I'll send you a list of questions that I have. But it sounds like from what Dr. Garman said and from what we talked about, that the rules of these two units are made by HUD, correct?
Yes,
And,
in terms of rents.
right, but the rules of how much you can charge, what you can do, so they've got a dog in the hunt. The owner, from what you said, is the state.
What I said is that MHA has been ruled to be a state agency.
Then, okay, it's a state agency. And the city has got what in this?
I don't think the city has anything in it, except it's in one of the recitals. There's people living there that need to live someplace, and they're entitled to clean housing.
And I agree with that. So it would look to me that before we meet back next week or the next week or 2 weeks to talk and vote on this, that we need to talk to the state officially, if they're a state agency, about what they're doing. Because we're getting ready to, and Baker's shaking his head, no, but as far as I'm concerned, if they're a state agency, they have a dog in this hunt.
And they've been approached by Dr. Jarman, I believe. You talked to AFA, is that correct?
I have not spoken to APA specifically about Madison 1 or 2, no, sir. No.
I would officially request that we talk to the state, and I would officially, we talk to HUD about if they can offer any assistance in this. If the goal is to make sure that people that need housing and need clean housing is done, but $7.5 million is a lot of money. And the last thing is that I think Baker's right, all pro formas are rosy. But having been in some ones where I'd bought into a rosy pro forma and ended up with something on my face other than a lot of money out of the deal, it wasn't roses. There's a lot of other things that I've gotten. Doctors' reputations are for making things where you don't end up with roses afterwards. I'd like someone to make a calculation of what happens if we don't make payment, how much it's going to cost over a 5-year period of time, because people ask me, what's the downside risk? And what we've been presenting today is there's this upside great situation where we're going to make this money back in 2 years. All I see is this has been mismanaged for years, and my worry is that you've got 5 years, you've got dedicated people sitting in the room, but I don't know if they're going to be here a week from now or a month from now or a year from now. And what's the liability to potentially to the city long-term in this? Because that's what people are asking me.
Thank you, Director Capiris. And Justin, we'll make sure it's resent to you, but the annual payment somewhere around $1.6, $1.8 million based on the short-term note. But Dr. Jarman, you'll send that official letter to ADFA. All right. Director Hines?
Thank you.
And when you get that, if you'll just send that to me and I'll get it to the board. You just took it off.
I got a couple questions for Dr. Jarman and a couple questions for Nick. I'll try to run through them real quick. And Director Capiris, this goes into the devil's in the details, kind of what I'm asking. So, Dr. Jarman, you were talking about how you guys have been on, the Housing Authority's been on several different How long have y'all currently been on this current software platform? Do you know when that?
Since October 2023.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. So, a little over a year and a half, roughly.
Yes, sir.
All right. And then what's that software?
Lindsay
Lindsay or
Lindsay
MRI?
software,
Okay.
MRI, yes,
Okay.
sir.
All right. Very familiar with, I know the founder of that company, so I'm
Yes,
very
sir.
familiar with Lindsay. They've been doing housing software for a long time. So we've got pro formas here. What I don't see is what the record you guys have of current rents and current expenses. To the best, what you've got in your system as current, that's what I would like to see,
Okay.
because that's how you figure out if the pro forma is too rosy.
Right.
And it's the delta between what your pro forma is and what you're actually collecting, because I only care what you can prove y'all can collect and is in the bank and I'm not asking for a year. I'm asking just for the last 2 or 3 months.
Okay.
Something that's current, because like you're saying, if you're going forward and improving, that they should be getting better, so.
Yeah, it's
I
getting
would
better.
expect them to get better over the last 2 or 3 months. I don't need a whole year. So that's
Yes, sir.
one thing I would like to see, is the actual revenue and actual expenses for Madison Heights 1 and 2. And then, let me see, make sure I've got, on the Madison Heights use of funds on the cost. So you've got, and I guess what I'm trying to figure out, it said there was 52 vacant units and then 6 mold units. Are those 6 included in the 52, or is it a?
Yes.
So it's not 58, it's 52 units, but you've got
Yes.
6 that are gonna require more extensive repairs.
Yes, and
Okay.
I think that 52 has come down.
Okay.
We've been actively trying to bring some units back online.
Okay, all right. I was just trying to make sure, because I had a number of 52 and I saw the 6, so
No,
that's fine.
that's inclusive.
And then the unit card image that goes up there. On the HVAC replacement contingency, is that just for the new units, or is that overall for the complex?
Overall for the complex.
For both, okay,
Yeah,
all
there's,
right,
yeah,
all right,
we have
okay.
some families that have already, with the summer months.
Okay.
So yes, it's for the complex.
Okay, all right. And then as far as the expenses and rent rolls, I heard one of the ladies say that they were now having to pay their own water, or a water assessment that they weren't having to pay in the past. Is the electricity bill paid by the entity, or do the residents pay their own electrics?
That gets into that matrix that I said. It depends on which type of unit they're in. If they're in a market unit, they do have to pay their utilities. If they're in a public housing unit, they do not. I'd have to check on the light tech, but there is a variation between the different types of units.
Okay, so that would give you a variation in what your expenses are.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. That I think is all the questions I have on that for you.
All right, thank
Thanks.
you.
Nick, I have questions for you. So we use short-term financing is a colloquial term. We're bonding. So does the short-term bond we do have any prepayment penalties?
We never have prepayment penalties on our short-term notes.
Okay. The question is, all in, based, and I know you can only give me an estimate because we don't know till we actually go to the market on the interest rate. So what's the projection of all in, if this thing goes 5 years, principal and interest, what's the rough total?
About $9 million.
9?
At 6.5% interest,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
It'd be a taxable deal, not tax exempt.
Okay. So 9 million total. All right, so our interest costs $1.5 million over spread over the 5 years, but front loaded. What's the amortization?
It's about 1.8. It was in the memo that was sent to you all.
All right, I've been getting a lot of stuff, so I hadn't looked at it, so that, all right. Okay, I think that's it.
All right, Director Miller. Yes, and then after that, Director Adcock, and then we'll close out.
Thanks. Nick, one question. You sent out a memo yesterday answering Director Compuris' questions.
Yes.
That was a rent roll, wasn't it?
That is the rent roll we
Yeah,
received.
that's the rent roll that you had. And so is there a difference in contract rent and actual rent? Because I see contract rent, but I don't see actual rent. Is that the same? What is that?
I'm going to defer to you.
How you doing? My name is Dexter Brady.
Thank you, Mr. Brady.
How you doing? I'm the new deputy director. So the difference in contract rent, you said contract rent?
Yes, I mean, we got a rent roll here.
Right.
Which I think gets to what Director Hines was talking about. And I took a look at this, didn't have a total at the end of it for rent, but it had contract rent. Is that the same as actual rent?
Yes, it could.
Okay,
Yes.
so what's listed here is contract rent. That's the actual rent that the people are paying.
Yes, that could be inclusive of the portion that the federal government pays in their portion. That's
Okay,
true.
well, that's fine. I mean, I'd really would love to have seen a total at the end of this, because does this match the pro forma that you put together, the contract rents? Do they match this other presentation? Because I hadn't taken time. I'm not gonna add up all these things on this rent roll. It wasn't a total down here, but does that total match what we were given in this presentation?
No, it wouldn't. Because one, as Dr. Sherman said before, with the system that we have in place, it's kind of a complicated system. And what we've tried to do, since I've been there for about 20 days, we've tried to put people in place to train our people to put that data in correctly. When the system was currently implemented, those people weren't trained on how to do it. So they was working on a spreadsheet. And one of the things in my analysis, after going through that process, we found a way to get this data in. So we found a retired MRI person and who was an expert to help us come in and step by step go through Madison, go through our other properties to get this data in. So when we created the form, that was just based off average rents. Those rents that we have are probably about 90% of where we possibly could be. So there was no way, just like Dr. Jarman said, to give you good data. So we're working to correct that, just like Director Hines talked about it. We have to work to get that data in and get it in correctly.
Yeah. So I guess my basic question is that if I took this rent roll, which is an actual rent roll, right? That's an actual rent roll.
Actual rent roll that they've been using on a spreadsheet that may not be correct because we have to do a detailed inspection. That's correct.
I mean, Nick, we got this memo that has this rent roll on it. Oh, okay. I get it. I get it. And what I'm trying to get to is if I added these numbers that we have, and then if I compare it to what was given to us as a pro forma, to me, pro formas, in this case, it really doesn't have to be a pro forma. It could be an actual performance if what this rent roll is telling us is correct. But you're telling me what I'm hearing, and make sure I understand this, that this rent roll that we have that shows contract rents may not be the actual rents.
No, it might not be actually correct.
Okay, all right.
All right, Director Adcock?
So one of Dean's questions, and I would like to hear the answer.
I was just going to say, if there are 1,000 reasons why you don't need to do this, okay? If you're looking for a reason not to do it, it won't be because the state has a law that authorizes people to have these organizations. Every corporation that's formed in the state of Arkansas is formed pursuant to state law. MHA is really no different. It's formed pursuant to state law. Mr. Carpenter reminds us constantly that it's a state agency and all this stuff, and you don't have anything to do with it. It's but for your tender mercies that we're even allowed in the room. I'm overstating my case, but that's not the way I look at this at all. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. But you don't have to. The state's going to get a letter, and they're going to throw it in the garbage, because they don't care anything about this. They don't care about the people that live there. They don't care much about Little Rock if you haven't figured that out. And so I wouldn't, you can waste a stamp and send them a letter and they won't care. And the fact that this was formed pursuant to state law, just like every other corporation in the state of Arkansas, is of no consequence. The thing that really matters is whether this thing will work, will cash flow, and if it doesn't, will you get every penny back? And if those two things are not the relevant factors, then you really don't need to think about much else. I mean, it's that simple. And I really appreciate everything y'all do. I sat on the school board 12 years. I know what it's like to sit up there and listen to people like me. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Director Phillips, my apologies. I've known Antoine Phillips for a long, long time, and I apologize. But I wish you all the best. And I want you, most of you have my phone number. If you don't call me, I will answer any question. I'm a volunteer. I got nothing to gain. And I do need to talk to Mr. Miller about helping me with my guitar playing. And he'll know why that's funny.
Thank you, Mr. Curris.
Mayor, I also would like to let Mr. Wright make his comment in closing.
You have any extra?
As the chair.
Would you like to make any closing remarks?
Yes, Director Miller, I wanted to explain the Monty being on the CAHC board. We don't have a quorum. So in order for us to have a quorum, Monty agreed to serve on the CAHC board for 90 days or until we brought in a new board member. Because I like you, our board, we agree it should be separate. MHA should have their members, CAHC should have theirs. So I just wanted to clarify that. You have a big decision to make next week or the week after, and there's a lot of things to look at because we're asking for a lot. And I know that we've come up here and we've told you that we told you everything we're doing right now. Do we still have issues with rent rolls? Yes. Do we still have issues with not our finances, but putting things together? It's because of what we inherited, and it wasn't easily fixed overnight. So we're working on that. Okay. But I want to thank everyone here for the consideration and I think it's great that you folks are just even looking at this opportunity. So, but that's all I have to say.
All right, Mr. Mayor Stoller, and then I'll close us out.
Thank you, Mayor, and members of the board. You know, I think Mr. Curris really hit the nail on the head when he said that really it's a question of whether or not the investment that the city makes by loaning the money is going to be ultimately secured and can be repaid. And when you have a property that is now $18.7 million in terms of its appraisal, and you've got 52 vacancies, and you seriously reflect on what can happen and what will happen if this loan is made, certainly the city is more than adequately secured in terms of the investment that you would make by making this loan. And I want to put a little perspective on this. I was the prosecuting attorney back in 1996 when this property was called Highland Court. And it was an infested cesspool of crime-ridden situations that went on and on. It was a real black mark on the city. And at the time, the HUD director, Henry Cisneros, came to Little Rock to commemorate the fact that Little Rock was one of the first cities in the country to embark on this program that allows for this kind of funding for this operation to be able to redevelop this property. The city of Little Rock, along with Atlanta and one other city that I don't recall at the moment, were the three that were really on the foremost of this. And I really think that what we need to remember is the people that spoke here during public communication and the 271 units and the people that live there and how important it is to them. So if the city is secured, I hope that you will consider that those people and what their lives are like and what it's about is very, very important to the continuation of this community and a property that is really a compliment to the city of Little Rock. Now that we've got people, not the past people that put us in this situation, Baker Curris and Jeremiah and all of the members of the board back here, along with the staff, have been working their tails off to try and bring this into a property that we can be proud of and respect. So I just wanted to put that comment in the record for you all as you consider moving forward on this.
Thank you. And as we come to a close, a lot's been heard. I want to share and make certain, because this is a very serious decision that impacts low-income, subsidized renters that are residents of the city of Little Rock. I want to make sure I state that. My grandmother once told me it's called now or later. Either we save Madison Heights now, or we're going to have to deal with it later, because they are public house residents. We know right now there are waiting lists for other housing agents. This is not Big Country Chateau. This is not Exora Apartments. Those are all private entity apartment complexes. We have a responsibility to those renters. So, if it forecloses, guess what's going to happen? They all going to be right here and asking us where are we going to go. And we got to take them to where there are waiting lists. So for everybody, I can tell you as a banker, it does not pencil. However, it does have great liquidity as relates to the collateralization. If we can work together this far, we can get taken out. But now, we fix it, and if we don't, Ms. Linda Williams, if she gets kicked out, Ms. Linda Bumblebee Williams is going to be here every day until she gets a place. And that is 180 people. So the question for the city board, because if I could vote, I would vote yes. I can't vote unless there's a tie. But I'm asking the team to spend a lot of time because it's a good bank deal. It's a workout deal. When you have a workout, it's messy. It don't pencil, it's messy, things are bad. But we got some smart people that figured it out. And so the question to this city board is, in the city that's in the midst of a housing crisis like most cities across this nation, public policy, are you focused on affordable housing? And politically, do you want to take care of our low-income, most vulnerable residents? Because if you vote no, what's going to happen is it can foreclose, or there'll be a administration of different bank stuff that's going to happen. But ultimately, what's going to happen, Director Compuris and others, what's going to happen is those same individuals are going to come before us requesting help. They're going to come before us requesting help from our Homeless Services Division, from our own stuff, and we don't have it. So the question is, now or later? And that's going to be up to you all on June the 3rd. That gives us enough time. I do not think we're going to hear from the state in 2 weeks. I just don't. And if we do, great. And I don't think it's going to be, we're going to give you some money. So the question, if you want to vote, yes or no, I hope you all will vote yes. Thank you all. Motion? Yes, sir. No, I think I talked to Director Wyrick on one of them. Yes. All right. Me. Motion, second. Meeting adjourned.